Do you want to crack interview of database tester? Check this out our interview question. Hi, I'm Bhagyashri and I welcome you all to our YouTube channel AxelBuzz Testing, where you will learn testing in easy simple way. In this video, we are going to share some of the important interview questions of database testing. So let's get started. What is database testing? Database testing is a backend testing process of checking impact of backend database operations on front-end web or desktop application. It is divided into different categories: data validity testing, data integrity testing, data performance testing, and testing procedures triggers. Data validity testing. While doing this testing, tester should have good knowledge of SQL queries. Data integrity testing. While doing this testing, tester or developer should know referential integrity and different constraints. Data performance testing. While doing this testing, tester developer should be good in designing the structure of tables. Testing procedures, triggers, and functions. While doing this testing, tester or developer should have perfect understanding of testing procedures, triggers, and functions, and so on. Why database testing is important? Although we all know the database is not small table, it's indeed a big container of many tables and full of data that delivers data at the same time to many web and desktop applications. When a tester go through a database design document, the tables, the joins, the data flow, the data types imparts more knowledge to the tester, thereby more test scenarios, and by which better testing of application is done. The bugs which are difficult to find out in front-end testing can only be found out by database testing. Some conditions which you cannot test by front-end application can be tested easily using database. What we usually check in database testing? Database testing requires some in-depth knowledge and more defined plan of approach to test the data of a particular application. In this testing process, we are usually check the field size validations, constraints, index are done or not, or for performance related issues. Store procedures. The field size defined in the application is matching with that in the database or not. Can you test database manually? If yes, then how? Explain with the example. It needs observing operation behavior. Observe the operations of the front end and its effect on the back end database. While adding a record to XYZ from the front end to the back end database, manually check that record has been affected on the back end database or not. Similarly, it will work for delete, update, etc. For example, to keep the record of students who are giving the exam, enter the student's detail from the front end system and manually go and check the effect of this addition on the backend database, whether it is added or not. What do you mean by data-driven testing? Data-driven testing is a term used in testing process where test scripts while execution read test data and or output values from the data files like data pools, Excel files, ODB objects, CSV files, instead of reading same hard-coded values each time. The test helps tester in checking the efficiency of the application in handling various inputs. Which SQL statements can be used in database testing? All DDL, DML, DCL and TCL statement of the SQL can be used in database testing. DDL, Data Definition Language. All statements related to this can be used in defining the database structure of the schema. Statements are create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename. DML, Data Manipulation Language. All statements related to this can be used for managing data within schema object. Statement can be select, insert, update, delete, merge, call, explain, plan, and log table. DCL, Data Control Language, Grant Statement and Revoke Statement. TCL, Transaction Control Language. All statements related to this can be used to manage the changes made by DML statements. Using these TCL statements can be grouped together into logical transactions. Statement can be commit, save point, rollback, and set transaction. In database testing, how to do the data load testing? For data load testing, you need to have knowledge of source database, data tables, data columns, associated constraints, data types, and the destination database, data tables, data columns, data types, and constraints. You need to check the compatibility between source database and destination database via DTS package. You need to open corresponding DTS package in SQL Enterprise Manager and run the DTS package if you are using SQL Server. Compare the columns data of the source and the target. Check the number of rows of the source and target. After updating data in the source database, check whether the changes have been reflected on the destination database or not. Check about junk characters and nulls. In database load testing, check the volume of database server to process the queries and also check the response time of the database server and client. In database testing, what all things required to writing the good test. Knowledge of following things is required before writing the database test cases. Understanding the application completely and also the functional requirement of the application. Check out other entities that have been used in the application like backend database tables, join between the tables, cursors, triggers, store procedures if any, input parameters and output parameters for the developing that requirement. After collection of all the necessary information, write down the test case with different input values and examine all the resources. Writing the test cases for backend testing is opposite to the functional testing. One should use the white box testing techniques. What is retesting and how it is different from data-driven testing? Retesting is a manual testing process and it is done with the entire new set of data. Data-driven testing, it is automation testing process and it is tested with the multiple test data. What is test scenario to test a database migrated from one SQL server to another? First of all, we need to check all the enhancements of the changes happens to the SQL server where we are planning to migrate. Next, design test case according to the following consideration. First of all, data types of that been used. Length of the data field of the SQL server into which we are migrating the data. It should be same as the SQL server from where we are taking out the data. Each and every task should be organized correctly. Write down step-by-step process of test the database. The processes to perform database testing is very similar to the step that we follow for testing in any other application. Following are the steps that are followed. Prepare the test environment and test scripts. Run the scripts. Check for the test result. Validate the result against the expected result. Report the validation findings to the developers and the stakeholders. How can we validate the tables and the columns in the database? We can test the tables and columns in the database by applying these test cases. Are the database fields mapped correctly and it is compatible with the required mapping in the front-end or back-end requirements? Are the fields following proper naming conventions and have length and size as per the requirements? Check if there are any used and unmapped tables and columns. Check if the table designs and referential integrity and constraints on the columns are applied efficiently and are scalable to the different requirements. How store procedure testing to be done? Store procedures are similar to user-defined functions and that are invoked using procedure or execute procedure statement. The output of these procedures is generally in the form of result set. The store procedures are stored in RDBMS and are readily available for the application. This can be tested using the following techniques. First of all, white box technique. Here is the stubs are used for invoking the store procedures and the result of those are validated against the expected result. Black box testing. We perform operation on front-end view of our application in the way that store procedures are invoked and we validate the result by observing the changes in the view. How do you test database triggers and procedures? For testing the database triggers and procedures, it is required to know the input parameters to these functionalities and know what would be expected output for these. The exec statement can be used for determining the behavior of the tables and when the procedures or triggers are run. You can also achieve this by creating SQL unit test for checking the database object modified due to the execution of the trigger or procedures. The SQL unit tests the three rules shown like below in the figure. The test case should check whether the object exists in the database or not. It should check or validate what is normal output would be the for the success scenarios. It should also check the behavior of the system under the influence of negative test cases. So this is it for today. Hope you like this video. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. If you have any queries, please write down to us in comment section. Stay tuned, stay connected. Happy testing. Bye bye.